Okay, have the very simple face here done. And again, you can be as creative as you want with these. I'm just going for very simple for this. So now I'm going to cut in. You will want to use the max of these blades, because in some places this foam will be literally 2 inches thick. And you have to break through not only the foam, but also the cloth underneath. So don't be afraid to use a lot of blade, but for God's sakes, be careful, people! The other thing with these blades is that you want to make sure and use a new blade for each pumpkin. Doesn't seem like you're making a lot of cuts here, but foam just kills these blades. They get dull really quickly, so you want to make sure and use a fresh blade each and every time. Okay, here we go. Feel I poke through there. Nice and smooth. Come up here, follow the line. Poke through. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to flip it and come back this way, just to make sure that I get this point that's matching up nice. Okay, the final cut. And I'll just pop them back in. You may have to go in here and just kind of find where you got to release it. There it is. You see a lot of flexibility in here. So I have a big void that was right there. So I may need to put a little bit of foam in there just to allow that to fill. That is the great thing about these, is you can take away if you need to, by, as like what I'm doing, cutting out the mouth and that, but you can also add if you need to. So if you have a part that's really weak, like this big void that's in here, see that very big void right in there. Stick almost my whole finger in there. What you can do is just squirt a little bit of foam in there, put a cloth on it, so the cloth will give it the same texture as this. Cloth gives it this kind of rougher texture. Allowing it to air dry gives it this skin kind of a thing. So you want to definitely be aware of that when you're adding foam. But you know, for instance, you know, this void, I could have just filled that void. Instead, I decided to incorporate it. If you have a place where you don't, say, have a rib, you know, a nice rib form that you'd like to do something with, you can just add the foam in and put the wet cloth over on it and just kind of stay with it. Make sure that you get it formed nicely so that it doesn't take off and create this big lump. But a lot you can do. You can fill in all of these kind of voids that are up here. I actually like these because once you get the paint on it, these voids really pop in a way that's really kind of, you know, gruesome, ugly, as it were, which is, you know, what I'm going for. Okay, so now I'm going to reach in, grab these pieces and pull them out, trim them where I need to. You shake it so that they come more to the front. You can even reach into these things. It's quite robust. I'm really quite impressed with how tough and, you know, that these pumpkins are. And like, it seems that even when you get the paint on it, they even get a little more firm. So, great idea. This has been phenomenal. I must admit I have a bit of an addiction now to creating pumpkins. Anyway, so that's where we are with this. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit more off camera, and then we will be ready for paint. So just to show you, a couple of teeth are broken. That guy there is broken. And this one here is broken as well. Just going to Gorilla Glue that. And in fact, this void here, I think I'm just going to take some of the pieces of foam that I cut out of here, and I'm just going to break them up and Gorilla Glue them into this void here. So, okay, finished up some things, made sure and glued the teeth in, so they're all in solid. Cleaned up some of my lines a little bit in here, made these eyes a little bit more of an angle like that. And so now I'm going to apply paint. So we're going to start with the dark brown, the espresso brown. And I really want to make sure and get all the nooks and crannies. So let's start with this. Now I'm careful, painting around the openings here will make paint go into the cloth in the back. So you want to just be careful on that. Just to make sure that you don't darken up that white cloth too much. A little bit is inevitable though. Now I'm also kind of coming at it from below and up, just to make sure we've got all those little nooks and crannies are filled in. Okay, we're going to let that dry, and we'll come back with another paint. I brought this shot up closer onto the stem. So you can see kind of what I'm doing. I have a green paint here, dark green, and I'm just going to lightly kind of dust this with green. The idea is I don't want to overpower the brown. I want the brown to kind of be visible through all of this, but I want to make sure that you can also tell that there's green on there. So very, very light spritzes. Now, if one had a airbrush, obviously one could do airbrushing on this and really get precise. I'm trying to create this exclusively with materials that can be purchased at a hardware store. So, spray paints, the foam, the blades, those types of things. I guess you can't get sheets at a hardware store, but you know what I mean. Just making sure I get a little bit of green on those points. Okay, again, let that set up, and then we are going to go into the orange. All right, I've gone around here and I've put some painter's tape around the vines, just to kind of protect them a little bit as I'm painting, so I don't have to go back and forth. Green paint, orange paint, green paint, orange paint, green paint. This way it kind of cuts down a little bit on this. So, full coating of the brown. Now with the orange, what I'm going to do is kind of the highlights. So the top of the rib first, right? The apex of the rib is where I'm going to paint. Not kind of concerned in between the ribs. I'm going to leave that dark brown. Also going to try and make sure that I get in the mouth and in the eyes a good coating of orange paint to kind of make it pop a little bit more. So, here we go. Now, of course, painting into the mouth, you are going to get overspray. Just be aware of that. Okay, now we're going to fill in some of these lines. You have to be careful how you paint, because you will get these crisscross lines if you lay them on too much. Even now, once I've got kind of the high points painted, then I'll go over and just kind of give it an overwash of orange. Okay, we're going to let that set up. But that's pretty well it, folks. You notice how it really makes these low parts here pop once you put the orange over top of that dark paint. So yeah, there it is. So I have here 4 5mm flickering or candle amber LEDs, and I'm going to wire them in series, which means anode to cathode, anode to cathode, anode to cathode. Cathode is the short leg on the LED, and when this is all wired together or soldered together, this will then be soldered to the negative line of the of your wire. Anode will be soldered to the positive lead of your line. I also use speaker wire for my wiring. Stuff doesn't need to be shielded. There's nothing really critical going on there. So it's cheap. You can get 50 feet for $7-8. So yeah, that's what I use. So the one thing about wiring these together in series, what that means is they will all flicker at the same rate. If you were to wire these in parallel, meaning cathode to cathode, anode to anode, they are going to flicker at individual rates. So that's a nice thing to know if you're doing up LED candles and you want to group a bunch of candles together. You'd have 3 of these, wire them together in parallel, and each one of those candles is going to flicker at a different rate from the other ones. So I'm not going to show you how to solder. There's lots of really good soldering tutorials on YouTube. I just want to tell you how I'm going to solder these. So here they are, finished off. I do them actually really close, twist them really close to the LED, because I don't want them sticking up that far, an inch or more in the middle of the pumpkin. So I'm going to try and make them really tight. So now this will get wired into the pumpkin. I will then bend them so that they're all kind of like this. Cover them in hot glue. Cover the bottom, the wires that is. Don't cover this. Cover the wires in hot glue. And then we have the candle for our great stuffed pumpkins. So there is the flickering LEDs. You can see they flicker all at the same rate. That's because they are wired in series. I do have hot glue on them because I found that this is best to kind of weatherproof them. You get it right up underneath the LED itself, and then of course follow down. Plus it makes it tough. You can then begin to kind of mold it if you need to. And anyways, my system, as I said, uses RCA plugs. I have this just going into a simple connector here, but this would plug into a block of 6, and then those are daisy chained, the block of 6. But so you can use RCAs if that's what your system is, or you can use something like this. This is a DC receiving plug for basically a plug like that, this end. So that just goes into here, like so. And then once it's connected, you get something like this. And this. Maybe even that. So just to show you, just poke a hole in the bottom and feed that up through the hole. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Do my best to answer them. Happy Halloween!